Really? Just want to
Hello.
let me. Hi, Harold.
Hi, good luck.
Where's Marta?
My granddaughter's in a play, a Eula play, so she went to the play tonight.
Oh, nice. What's the name of the play?
Beauty and the Beast. She plays the
nice.
beauty.
Ah, that's so nice.
He's the beauty, right? Not the beast.
Which granddaughter?
Ella, Yitzi's oldest daughter.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's a musical. I didn't know. I had no idea she could sing. She's a pretty good singer. Shock. But men are not. Men are not.
I was going to say, what were you doing listening in?
I saw a video. Yeah, I'm not invited. I could sneak in. Maybe it's a trans. What do you think? Can I pass as a woman?
I think you're missing a few dots on that artwork over there. I see empty spaces.
You should see an eye doctor.
Which one are you in there? It has the pictures.
What's that?
Very personal.
How was your Shabbos?
Very nice. And yours?
Very good. Good. Good.
Harold, who's the artist of your paintings?
The dot one, that's Damien Hirst. He's a British artist.
Oh, I've heard of. And the other one is
The
To the-
Queen. I don't know what you're
the-
seeing.
The
Which-
American
To the-
one with
to the right.
stars. No,
the one
the
with
other way.
The
Behind
Queen.
you.
The other way? Oh, with the
Right.
flag? That's Vic Muniz, the Brazilian artist.
Who's the one? Who's the famous one who does the flags? I'm trying to think.
Jasper Johns.
Jasper Johns. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. That's an homage to his. What the artist did, he took magazine pieces that were red, white, and blue and tore them up and made a flag out of it.
No way. Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing.
He doesn't study Navi.
Hello.
Where is Ernie?
Hi,
I'm
Ernie.
here. Can you hear me?
We hear
Hear
you.
you.
Can you see me?
us?
Do we see you? Yes.
Yeah, I'm here.
Decir ahora
We're finishing up Perek Yud Ches. Okay, Melachim Beis, Perek Yud Ches 18. We just did the pasuk Lamed Beis. You can review that pasuk. Let's remember Sancheriv has sent shluchim. The main one was Rav Shakeh to belittle Chizkiah Melech, belittle Klal Yisrael, belittle Hashem. They were macharef u'magadev against Hashem. And in pasuk Lamed Beis, Sancheriv says, "Ad bo'i v'lakachti et chevel eretz kartzechem." I'm going to take you to a land like your own land. Eretz Dagan v'Tirosh, a land that's got grain and wine. Eretz lechem ukramim. It has wheat fields and vineyards. Eretz zeit yitzar udvash. A land of olive oil and honey. V'chiyu v'lo samusu. You will live and not die. V'al tishmuel chizkiyahu ki asit etchem limor Hashem yatzilenu. Hashem is seducing you and taking you away from the correct path, which is to follow me, and he's saying that Hashem will save you.
Slamed bet, Walter Ernest.
Pasuk Lamed Bet. You know, there's a Gemara in Sanhedrin, Tzadik Daled Amid Aleph, on Rav Yechnon, Mibnei Mazacha Oto Rasha Likroso Asnapar Rabba V'Yakira. In Sefer Ezra, Sancherib is going to be called the great fish. You know, he's going to be given a great name. Mibnei Shelo Siper Beganuso Shel Eretz Yisrael. He didn't speak Lashon Hara on Eretz Yisrael. He could have said, I'm going to take you al Eretz Muteves Me'artzachem. I'm going to take you to a land that's better than your land. He didn't. He said, a land like your land. And on that Gemara, there's a machlokas Rav Shmuel. Rav Shmuel, Chadam Melech Pikei Chaya. You know, Sancherib was smart. The Chadam Melech Tipei Shaya. Some say he was a fool. Lamandam Melech Pikei Chaya. Because he knows that there was no land greater than it, therefore that he didn't exaggerate and say, I'm going to take you to a better land. Now, according to the person who said it was a fool, because if he's telling the people, listen, I'm going to take you somewhere, but it's not better, then what's the point of leaving their land and to be nikla to a different place? So he was talking shtus. However, that Gemara says when Bnei Yisrael, the 10 tribes, were taken into exile by Sancherib, they sipru b'genus shel Eretz Yisrael. They spoke Lashon Hara about Eretz Yisrael. When they were brought to their places, they said, oh, this is like Yerushalayim. Or even nicer than Yerushalayim. So the Jews, Sancherib on that scale was even better than the 10 tribes that were taken. So according to Rabbi Yochanan, Sancherib recognized the Kedusha and the Gadlus of Eretz Yisrael. He saw that already. Remember when he brought the Kusim from his land, where they were not bothered by lions, he brought them to Eretz Yisrael, and all of a sudden lions attacked them. Because he knew this was a Makam HaShechina, that we already went through that in depth, that certain actions, even though they were permitted in Chutz La'aretz, like Shituf, in Eretz Yisrael would not be allowed. But the Shvatim who were taken exile by Sancherib, they already were sick of the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael. They had engaged in so much Avodah Zarah and the other abominations. That's why they spoke negatively. Pasuk Lamed Gimel. Hahatzel itzilu Elohei goyim ishas artso miyad melech Ashur. Sancherib continues in his berate. He says, all of the nations that I have conquered, their gods have not saved them. Aye Elohei Chamat ve'Arpad. Where was the God of Chamat and Arpad? Aye Elohei Sfarvayim Hein Aviva. Ki itzilu et Shomron miyadi. And where was God that did they save the 10 tribes from Shomron? That's your God, and he didn't save them. Besides the other gods. Who are the gods of all these other countries that I conquered that didn't save them? And you think that your God Hashem is going to save Jerusalem for me? The Am was quiet. Chizkiah Melech commanded not to respond. Based on this pasuk, the Rambam in Hilchos Avodah Zarah learns, Osr l'saper imon ulashiv aleim tshuva klal. Let's say an apikoros is trying to have a debate with you. You're not allowed to respond to them. The Or Sameach brings from this episode of Rav Sheka, V'lo anu oto davar ki mitzvahs hamelachitz. What do you mean mitzvah mitzvah Hashem? We are not an apikoros, because remember Rav Shakeh was a Jew. Remember we said he was a Yisrael Mummer. So he's an apikoros. This was a chilul Hashem, and they were not allowed to debate him or answer him. Pasuk Lamed Zayin. Vayavo el Yakim ben Chilkiah asher labayit. That was remember Yechizkiah sent 3 of his officers. El Yakim, who was in charge of his palace. Shevna Soifer v'Yoach ben Asaf Maskir el Chizkiah. Shevna the scribe, and Yoach was the secretary. El Chizkiah Kruyeh Begodim. They tore their garments because they had heard Rav Shakeh curse Hashem. When you hear cursing of Hashem, you have to tear your garments. And Vayagidu lo divrei Rav Shakeh. And Eliakim, Shevna, and Yoach repeat the words of Rav Shakeh to Chizkiah HaMelech. The Gemara in Sanhedrin Samech Amud Aleph learns, Adam chayv likro. You hear somebody cursing God, you have to tear kriya. Korin minalan, from this pasuk, vayavo Yakim, kruyeh begodim, because of the various curses that they heard from Rav Shakeh.
Ernie, there's an interesting commentary that the modern version of Mayam Lois has. He states that it was a very clever plan that the Assyrians had to relocate the people out of their natural homeland, where they would lose their whatever faith they had in the land where they were, and they were easier to subdue. So, but ultimately, the Assyrians failed. The same thing happened with Bavel. The Babylonians we know that the empire didn't last so long. The only one that succeeded in having success were the Persians, right? With the Persian Empire, they did not believe in relocating the nations that they conquered. They let them be in their own homeland, but stayed there as long as they were subject to the laws of the conquering nation, which is Persia. That empire lasted the longest. Remember, that's the time of Nehemiah.
And the Roman Empire followed the same practice and lasted a long time. And the Romans also allowed the people to keep their own religion.
Yeah.
Yes,
but the Persian Empire had already relocated the people. So they didn't have to relocate it again because it was a carry-on of Nebuchadnezzar. I mean,
Carry-on of what?
it was no.
No, Bernie is saying when the Persians conquered other people, they did not relocate them.
Yeah, but I'm saying I agree, but they had already. It was a carry-on over from Nebuchadnezzar that went to. I mean,
they didn't have to take the Jews. The Jews were there already.
They were there already. They didn't have to relocate. The only people that seemed to be relocated were the Jews.
I think what Bernie is, the Assyrian, this was part of their political plans. Right. They just didn't move the Jews. Remember, they repopulated the Kusim into Canaan, and they took the 10 tribes somewhere else. And this was in general how they governed. They felt that by dislocating the people would be easier for them to govern. The truth was, the Assyrian Empire collapsed. Was not
a rebellion.
And the Persians, who when they conquered people, they let them stay where they were. They had a longer.
Oh yeah, okay. So Assyria was destroyed by the time the Persian took over.
Yes, they were.
Okay.
And the Romans did one further. Remember, as the Greeks conquered, they also let the people stay, but they tried to Hellenize them. They did try to make them like them, and that led to problems. Like the Maccabean revolt was to fight off the cultural advances the Greeks wanted. The Romans were less like that. The Romans allowed people to continue their religion.
Either they killed you or they allowed you to. That depends which one.
If you surrender, they didn't kill you either, the Romans. Why do I say this? For example, initially, the Romans persecuted the Christians mercilessly. The Androcles in the line, all the things that were written, that was actually true, because they believed that the old religion is the authentic religion. So they knew Judaism was an ancient religion, so they respected Judaism. When the Christians came up and said, they rejected that. The Romans persecuted them severely. Later on, in the year 300, Constantine had a dream of the cross of gold, and he caused a conversion of the Roman Empire to Christianity. But that's up until the year 300. Rome was a pretty peaceful place. Now, you can ask me, well, what about Bar Kokhba? It's the Jews who rebelled against the Romans then. And then there were a lot of Gzeres Hashmad because of that. It wasn't that there was Gzeres Hashmad. He thought he was the Mashiach, Bar Koziba, and could overthrow that government. And we know that Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai wanted to make peace. It was the Zealots, the Biryonim in Jerusalem, that burnt all the stores and forced that war, which could have ended in a more peaceful way. Okay, that's just a tangent. Okay, now comes the climax, Perek Yud Tes. Pasuk Aleph, Vayiki Shmuel Melech Chizkiyahu, when Chizkiyahu hears of the curses that Rav Shakeh made against Hashem, so Chizkiyahu himself, Vayikras B'gadav, also tore Kriya. Vayiskas Basak, and he wore sackcloth. Vayavo Beis Hashem, and he's going to go to the Beis Hamikdash to daven for Klal Yisrael. Says the Gemara again in Sanhedrin Samech Amud Aleph Tan Rabbanon, Echad HaShomea, Echad Shomea B'pi Shomea, whether you hear it directly from the person who curses, or whether a second party tells you about the curses, Chayiv L'kroa. Now, Ha'edim ein Chayiv in L'kroa, Shekvar Kar B'shar Sheshamu. Remember, if a Jew curses Hashem, and there are Edim there, the Edim are going to report to Sanhedrin, the person who curses is going to be put to death. So you need Edim. Now those Edim who heard the curses have to tear themselves. Pasuk Beis. Vayishlach es Eliakim asher labayis. He sent Eliakim in charge of the house. The Shevna Sofer. You notice there's no Yoach there. Vetziknei Kohanim, the elder Kohanim, Mitkasim Basakim, El Yishayahu HaNavi ben Amos. Who is the Navi at the time of Chizkiah Melech? Yishayahu HaNavi. In fact, he prophesied during 4 kings. Amos, by the way, Chizkiyahu and Yeshayahu were first cousins. Amatzia, who was Chizkiah's father, and Amos were brothers. And therefore, their sons, Chizkiyahu was the king, and Yeshayahu Navi they were first cousins. So Chizkiah sends messengers because he wants to hear from Yeshayahu, the Navi, number one, what does Hashem say about this? And to ask Yeshayahu to daven for Klal Yisrael. Why didn't he send Yoach? Says Rav Schwab, because Yoach, we know, was the maskir, was the secretary. So maybe he wanted Yoach to go with him to the Beis Hamikdash to write down everything that's going to happen there. You notice that when we are introduced to the Navi Yeshayahu, it says Yeshayahu ben Amos. Yeshayahu Navi ben Amos. Now, in Sefer Yeshayahu, it says Yeshayahu ben Amos Hanavi. And the Medrash says Yeshayahu was a Navi ben Navi. His father was also a Navi. Anytime that a Navi appears with the name of his father, it's a Navi ben Navi. If you just get the name itself, then the father was not a Navi. Now, Chizkiah sent shluchim. He didn't go himself. We also see Yeshayahu didn't come to Chizkiyahu. We'll see soon that Yeshayahu sent shluchim to the Melech. So Chizkiyahu was of the opinion that Kavod HaMelech is odiv, is higher than and Melech shemochel al kvodo and kvod mochel. A Melech is not allowed to give up on his kavod. Or some say Chizkiyahu was sick, and at this time he couldn't go. But the Mesiris Nefesh, he did go to the Beis HaMikdash. And what are these shlichim going to say to Yeshayahu? Vayomru Gimel, Vayomru Elav, Ko Amar Chizkiyahu, Yom Tzara v'Tochacha Unatza Yom Hazeh. This is a painful day, a day of Tochacha, a day of pressure. Kivau Vanim Ad Mashber. It's as if all of us, children of Hashem, have been brought to the birthing stool, the Koach Ayin Leleda, and we don't have the ability to give birth. This image that Chizkiyahu is trying to draw, we've done everything we can. Because remember, Chizkiyahu Melech during his reign, he's cleaned out the Beis HaMikdash. He has brought the nation back to tshuva. Remember, we said Midana Beersheva, everybody's learning Torah. Chizkiyahu is prepared for war. He's prepared all the rivers and the water. But now here's this great Assyrian king with a huge army prepared to destroy them. We need a Nes Ben HaShamayim. There's only so much we can do. We have nothing else to do. As the child is being born and the uterus is very narrow, the mother has to push. And if the mother has no strength to push, nothing's going to happen. That's what Chizkiyahu is saying to Yeshayahu. Now, in Sefer Yeshayahu, the Malbim has a perush on this. Yeshayahu has already given a nevuah that Sancheriv is going to fall in Har Tzion. And over there, Yeshayahu predicted that that's going to occur if Im Yicharef Yigadef Yizgadel Alel Elim, if Sancheriv is going to curse Hashem, and until he reaches Tzion. Then there'll be a Yeshua. So Chizkiah is sending message, this nevuah was known. Chizkiah is sending a message to Yeshayahu, the two deadlines that we were supposed to meet has happened. He's cursed, and now he's in Har Tzion. This is the final day. Pasuk Daled. Ulai yishma Hashem Elokecha kol divrei Rav Shakeh. Did Hashem hear these words of Rav Shakeh, Asher Shlacho Melech Ashur, that Melech Ashur sent him Adonav L'Charef Elohim Chai, to curse the living God? V'ochiach badvar Asher Shema Hashem Elokecha. Did Hashem hear all of this tochacha? V'nasat tefillah ba'ad Asher Reisan Nimtzah. Please, Yeshayahu, daven for us, for those, the remnant that is still remaining. So we've already said Chizkiah was a tzaddik gamur, and he's done as much as he can, especially the kilkul that his father did. But many of the Jewish people have not done tshuva, and so therefore there was not enough schuyas for Chizkiah Melech alone to protect from Sancheiriv coming to Yerushalayim. So he's asking Yeshayahu to daven for the remainder of the people that are still in Yerushalayim. He's already destroyed the other cities in Judea. He's already taken the 10 tribes. By saving this remnant will be a big kavod Hashem, a big kiddush Hashem. We've already discussed that Chizkiyahu was the greatest bitachon. He had the greatest bitachon. Yet, he's asking Yeshayahu to daven. Even when you have a promise from Hashem that you're going to be saved, there's an important lesson to learn. You still need tefillah. B'Yetzias Mitzrayim. Hashem has told Avraham Avinu he's going to take the Jews out of Mitzrayim. He told Moshe. Yet it says, Vayishma Hashem el na'akatam. The Jewish people in Mitzrayim were davening. So everything still needs tefillah. Even there's a time, the time of Geula has reached, you still require tefillah to unlock the Geula.
Ernie, you're going to mention the Gemara in Sanhedrin that is referenced here about Shebna planning a rebellion because he wanted to give up and follow what Sancherib said and take the people, and apparently he had a majority people who more than Chizkiyahu had.
Yes, we've discussed that remember, especially last week we discussed that the people wanted to go with the Sancherib. It was the easy way out. They didn't want to be killed. And that's why Sancherib is remember, they told him, don't speak Hebrew, speak Aramaic. Because they didn't want to hear they didn't want the people to hear all of these words, because yes, there was a big push to listen to Sancherib and to go with him just like their cousins, the 10 tribes had gone, they were going to go too. It's better than dying. I didn't see where Shevna was the leader of that, but maybe we'll get to that. Okay. Pasuk Hey. Vayavov de Melech Chizkiyahu Yeshayahu. So these shluchim go to Yeshayahu. There were other shluchim. Some say he said a different mishlachat. Now, the Netziv in Harchav Davar, in his Perush on Bereshis, says, Ein la'adam litpalel al eze davar, rak betoch tfilah kfu'ah, she'az hu eit ratzon. Meaning, when you ask tefillah from Hashem, you should during a tefillah's kfu'ah. There's a pasuk in Tehillim, tefillah la'ani ki yatov. When should an ani daven? When he's covered with a talis. Bizman shlifnei Hashem yishpoch sicho. When the time that he's before Hashem, that's when he should pour out his heart. Perush, bizman tefillah kvuah shenikra siach. Regular tefillah, like shachris, mincha, marv, a tefillah kvuah, a set tefillah, that's called, you're doing siach with Hashem. So, and that's what the Netziv is explaining here. Vayavov de Melech Chizkiyahu Yeshayahu, they came already. So since Chizkiyahu is asking specifically for Yeshayahu to daven, Yeshayahu couldn't daven right away. He had to wait till the Zman Tefillah. So they went from there and they came back to meet with Yeshayahu when he was davening Mincha, let's say. Let's say they came to him at 10 o'clock in the morning, it's not the Zman of Tefillah. So he told them you have to come back and with the Zman Tefillah. Showing us the importance of our Zmanei Tefillah and going to a Tefillah Bizmana Bekvua. Vayomer Lam Yeshayahu, Kol Tomrun El Adonechem. Yeshayahu is now sending back message Goyim, to the Rav Shakeh, to the messengers of Assyria. Ko amar Hashem, Al tira mipnei advarim asher shamat asher gidfu narei melech asher oti. Don't be afraid of these things that these fools, the word nar here means these fools, that who cursed me. Yisrael shouldn't be fearful because I will protect the covenant of Hashem. Hineni noten bo ruach v'shama shua v'shav l'artzo. I'm going to put a ruach into Sancheir that he's going to go back to his country. V'ipaltiv b'cherev b'artzo. He will fall from the sword in his own land. I will cause him to leave here and go back to his country. There's going to be Melech Kush. Shitraka is going to go and fight with him. That's going to draw him away from Israel. And Sancheir will go back to Assyria. Some say that he went to Mitzrayim or to Kush itself to fight there. This right now is not the time of the Mapol of Sancheir, but it's going to cause him to leave Yerushalayim. And it's going to delay his battle with Yerushalayim. And right now it's going to lift the siege, that the Jews can bring more supplies into Jerusalem. And Radak, another reason why he was diverted to fight with Kush Mitzrayim first, so that after he conquers Kush Mitzrayim, he's going to have a lot more wealth. We're going to see after the miraculous destruction of the Assyrian army, there's going to be a biza, just like there was by the Yam Suf, where the Jewish people gathered a lot of money. Here also, they're going to take all the booty that Sancheir and his army had taken from Kush Mitzrayim. It's going to fall into the Jewish hands. It will also increase the covenant of Hashem, that Kush Mitzrayim will see these great miracles that Hashem is going to do, because the Assyrian king had defeated them, and now in their siege around Jerusalem, they're going to fall even without a fight, without a sword. So this is the thought that Hashem is putting into the heart of Melech Ashur to bring the booty from Kush Mitzrayim to Yerushalayim with him. Part of that, if he's going to bring soldiers that he takes from Kush Mitzrayim, it's also going to show even more fear for the citizens of Jerusalem. Because after he goes and fights Kush Mitzrayim, he's going to come back to Jerusalem to destroy it. That's going to be the time of his Mapala, as we will see. Pasuk Ches. Vayashav Rav Shakeh v'imtzas Melech Ashur nilcham al Livna. Rav Shakeh hears this, goes to find Sancheiriv, who's fighting in Livna. Ki shama kinasami Lachish. He had left the city of Lachish where he was fighting, and he's now fighting in Livna. Vayishma al Tiraka Melech Kush lemor. Hinei yatzar lachem itach. Rav Shakeh tells Melech Ashur that this Tiraka, who's the king of Kush, is coming to fight you. Vayashav vayishlach malachim al Chizkiyahu lemor. And Rav Shakeh sends messengers back to Chizkiyahu. Ko tomer el Chizkiyahu melech Yehuda lemor. Al yashiach Elokecha asher ata botech bo lemor. Your God is not going to save you. Lo tinaten Yerushalayim biad Melech Ashur. Again, he's being mecharev against Hashem. This is the third time that Sancheir is sending messengers to Chizkiyahu that he's going to come in to destroy Jerusalem. Divrei Hayomim, it repeats a lot of this. And it was stated in Yeshayahu and Sefer Yeshayahu and Melachim. And to point out to us, the words in Divrei Hayomim was Kelohei Goy Haaretz asher lo yitzilu amam yadi. I'm going to destroy Yerushalayim. He's like all the other gods of all the other nations. So the fight of Sancheriv wasn't just to capture the capital city of Jerusalem. It was a fight against Hashem. You've heard what the king of Assyria has done to all the nations and destroyed them. You think you're going to be saved? Did those gods save them at Gozan, at Haran, that Retzef of Ne'edin Asher Bit Lashar? Ayom Melech Hamat u'Melech Arpad. Where is the king of Hamat, the king of Arpad, Melech Le'ir Sfarfaim, Hain of Eva? Where are they? And Sanchev apparently had sent books. Vayikach Hizkiat Asfarim Yad HaMelachim Vayikraim. He read it. Vayal Beis Hashem Vayfresheu Chizkiel Ufnei Hashem. He opened up the books in the Beis Hashem, either all of them or one of them. He didn't allow the people to read it. He didn't want them to see the chiruf and the giduf, the curses. You're not allowed to read material like that. So he only read one of the books. And then since he understood what was in there, he didn't read the other one. In Divrei Hayomim it says, Usfarim katav l'charef l'Hashem Elokei Yisrael v'leimor. Alav leimor. He wrote things to curse God, to say, Kelohei goy harotzos asher lo yitzilu imam yadi. Kein lo yatzil Elokei Chizkiyahu imam yadi. So will the God of Chizkiyahu not save either. Pasuk Tezvav. Vayispalel Chizkiyahu lefnei Hashem vayomer. Chizkiyahu davens. Hashem Elokei Yisrael yoshev akruvim. You, Hashem, we have a Misra that the Shechina is Bein Akruvim, which is the cherubs that are on top of the Aron HaKodesh. Ata Elohim levadcha. You are the only God. L'chol mamlachot haaretz. There's only one God. Ata sitat et hashamayim et haaretz. You made the heaven and the earth. Now, Chazal tell us in Brachos Lamed Beis, Dorish Rab Shamloi, La'olam Yisayir Odom Shvoch Shel Kadosh Baruch Hu Va'achar Kach Tispal. You are supposed to give the praises of Hashem first, then ask for your needs. We do it in Shmona Esrei. Elokeinu Elokei Avram Yitzchak Ke'el HaGodol HaGibor VaNoira Ke'el Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei HaKol. How do we start Shmona Esrei? We praise Hashem. And then we ask, Ata Choinin L'Adam Das. We need wisdom. We need refuah. We need slicha v'kapara. Before we ask for our personal things, so here we see the same template. Chizkiyahu first is praising Hashem. Within the praises, though, is a hint to what he's going to ask for. By saying Yoshev Keruvim, where are the Kruvim? It's on the Kapoiris, which is on the Aron, which is in Yerushalayim. And the Kruvim are under threat. Again, I'm going to point out that there's already been a promise. Yeshayahu, already in Pasuk Zayin, V'shavla artso v'hipaltiv b'cherev b'artso. Yeshaya already sent back a nevuah that Sanchev is going to go back to his country. He's going to die of the sword there. Therefore, it must be clear that Sanchev is not going to be matzliach in his battle in Yerushalayim. As I said before, you still have to daven. The Yeshua will not come only derech tefillah. And now comes the tefillah. And we'll recognize this a little bit. Hateh Hashem oznecha ushma. Pkach Hashem einecha re'eh. Hateh means tilt your ear and listen. Open your eyes and see. Ushma es divrei sanche v'sheshlacho l'charev limchai. And look at the words that Rav Shakeh and that Sancheriv have sent to curse the living God. We in Slicha say, Hatei Elokai oznecha shema, pekach einecha ure'ei. So this lashon is used by Daniel. God willing, we're going to learn Sefer Daniel. He sort of takes the lashon of Chizkiah Melech and turns it into a different tefillah. Omnam Hashem echrivu malchei Ashur et hagoyim et artzam. He says it's true that Melech Ashur has destroyed many countries. V'nasnu es Elohem ba'esh. He burnt their gods. But ki lo Elohim ema, they're not gods. Ki maseh de adam eitz ve'evan v'yabdum. They are human artifacts only, made by man. But Ata Hashem Elokeinu Oshienu Nami Ado, you the true God, Hashem Elokeinu, please save us from his hands. V'yedu kol mamlachot haaretz ki Ata Hashem Elokim levadecha. The nations of the world will know that you are the sole God. It's roy that there shouldn't be chilul, Hashem in the world. Even if Yisrael are not ru'uyim that they're going to nace should be performed. It's Dafka, says Chizkiyahu, because he's a great king and he's destroyed all these people. You have to show that you're above all of it and you're melech on anything. And if you don't, the whole world will say that Melech Ashur is ruling over everything, and that's going to be a huge chilul Hashem. Assyria tried to conquer the whole world, and Jerusalem was part of that. But as I said before, it was also sort of a spiritual battle. Because you notice how he talks about, I destroyed this God and that God. He was a complete atheist. He wanted to show there are no gods. And that's why he was Macharif Magadif HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So, Pasuk Chav. Vayishlach Yeshayahu ben Amotz el Chizkiyahu lemor. The Navi Yeshaya sends to Chizkiah, Ko amar Hashem Elokei Yisrael asher itzpalalta elai el Sanchev melech Ashur shamati. So you see what's going on here. Chizkiah is davening the base of Mikdash to Hashem. The answer is coming through Yeshayahu Navi. The answer of Hashem. I heard you, what you said about Melech Ashur. These are my words. Bazalacha lagalacha psulat bat Zion, acharecha rosh heinia bas Yushalayim. This is my words against Sancheriv. That the Bas Zion will embarrass you. Yerushalayim is called the Besula because it was never been conquered. That another nation had never ruled it. Like a Besula that's been married by her husband and has had no other suitors. At mi cherafta v'gidafta, who did you curse? V'al mi arimota kol, and who have you raised your voice? V'tisam marom einecha al kadosh Yisrael. Why haven't you paid attention to your heart, recognizing who you're cursing? The Barbanel says there were three things in this curse. The text, they're evil in itself. That's what he means at mi charafta v'gidafta. The second, that you said it in such loud voices. And the third, he did things with his hands. He made against the walls of Yerushalayim, but with pointing. Pasuk Chav Gimel, Biad Malachecha Chirafta Adonai. Through your agents, you cursed God. Vatomer, and you said, Barov Richbi Ani Alisi Marom Arim Yarkasei Levanon. With great chariots I came. Vechrot Komat Arazav Mipchor Broshav, and I destroyed the cedars. Vavo Amlon Kitso Yar Carmilo. Yeshayahu's continued the Nevuah. That you said that you came on a country with tall mountains. This is on Eretz Yisrael, who's on, when you make, there's a reason why you make Aliyat Eretz Yisrael, because Israel was one of the highest places. The Lebanon is a forest. It's referred to the forest in the north. And he's already conquered the north of Israel, which was the land of the 10 Shvatim. But he hadn't conquered Yerushalayim yet. But you want you now want to attack the Judean king and the officers in Yerushalayim, and then the Melon Kitzo is the Beit HaMikdash. That's the end and the final mile of Eretz Yisrael. That you think you're going to be Machriv Beit HaMikdash, and that the Yar Kamilo, someone say it refers to the Kodesh Kadoshim, which is the highest level of the Beit HaMikdash. Rashi in Metzudas David says no. Marom Harim refers to the Harabayis, and the Yar Kasei Levanon is the Beit HaMikdash. So different ways of the Meforshim learning. Very interesting Gemara in Sanhedrin. Tzadik Daled Amud Aleph. Tana. Mishmeid Rav Yoshua ben Korcha. Paro. Shechiref ba'atzmo. Nifra Kodesh Baruch Hu Mimenu ba'atzmo. Paro cursed himself without a shaliach. Hashem, when he punished, he took it directly from Paro. Sancheriv, Shechir al Yidei Shaliach. Sancheriv cursing through a Shaliach is a more of abomination. And therefore, Kodesh Baruch Hu is going to send the Nekama through a Shaliach, and it's more embarrassing. Where do we see this? Paro said, Mi Hashem asher shma b'kolo. Who is God that I'm going to listen to him? So Paro cursed God directly, without a Shaliach. So Nifra Kodesh Baruch Hu mimenu ba'atzmo, like it says, Vayinaer Hashem es Mitzrayim b'soch hayam, Dorachta bayam susecha. Mitzrayim, including Paro, was thrown into the Yam directly. And it's Hashem. It's not a Malach. But Sancher, who cursed through agents, Nifra Kodesh Baruch Hu mimenu yidei shalech. As we're going to learn if we get there tonight, Vayetzei Malach Hashem vayach b'machaneh Ashur 185,000. A Malach goes out at night and destroys 185,000 of the generals of the army through a Malach. Pasuk Chav Daled. Ani karti, meaning I dug, v'shasisi mayim zorim, dug like wells, and I drank. V'achriv b'chav pa'amai kol yorei matzor. The Navi is basically going into Sancheriv's mind. He's saying, I was always successful in everything I did. I was always able to find mine. I was always able to conquer my nations and destroy them. These were strong places that nobody thought that anybody would be able to conquer them. The Ralbag learns Pashut Pshat, that Sancheriv dug wells in the area of Yerushalayim, was able to find water, even though Chizkiyahu stopped them up. I brought a large Chel Gadol with me, that's the Yorei Matzor, to lay siege around Jerusalem. Bernie, did you want to say something?
Yeah, no, just on the word, in a prior pasuk, it talks about Marom, that he wanted, Sanchever wanted to reach the
Highest.
farthest heights.
Yes.
That same daf in Sanhedrin that you quoted says, this reveals Sancheriv's real goal. He imagined himself going from the earthly temple, God's resting place. He would be able to proceed to heaven and overcome God there as well. His heavenly temple is his farthest heights. That's what he had in mind with the word Maro.
Similar to like when they built the Tower of Babel.
Yeah.
That their fight was with Hashem. And that's we've seen now hints of this, that it wasn't just a physical battle, it was a spiritual battle, real atheism. Now Hashem is answering Sancherib. Not the way you think, that it's through your strength. It's a call, everything is in the hands of God. I've brought you here to fulfill the gzera that I said. Ota siti lememei kedem v'yitzartia. From the time I created the world, ata haveta utihi lashvot galim nitzim arim psurot. None of this is yours. This is a gzera that I've done, many years in the making. Amos Hanavi, 70 years prior, had already predicted that there was going to be this attack on Yerushalayim, and that Yisrael was going to be taken exile. So this Puranus against Sanchev has been prepared. Already, when we make Kedem, it's from Mishnivra Olam, when I created the world. Didn't you learn? Hashem says to Sancherib that Paro cursed, and look what happened to that nation. What about Sichon, Og, and Sisra? And you should have learned from these Goyim who put pressure on the Jews that they're going to get punished. And now is the time for the punishment of Ashur, especially because of the cursings that they did. The same that Paro Melech Mitzrayim. V'yoshvehen kitzrei. Hashem, through Yeshayahu, is saying, I weakened these countries that you destroyed. Chatu v'yevoshu. Hayu esav sadeh v'yirak de'asher chatzir gagot u'shtefal lifnei kama. I've made them like grass in front of a scythe. The gvura is not yours. I've made them weak, like wheat ready to be cut. V'shivtecha v'tzeisecha uvoecha yadati. I've known your comings and goings, vet hitragzecha elai, and your anger at me. Yan hitragzecha elai v'sha'agadcha ala boznai. Now Hashem is going to start the punishment. Even though you've been angry at me, I'm going to put a metal bit in your mouth, like a bit that goes in a horse when you pull him back. Umitgi b'svatecha, the ring that is put into the lip. Vashivoticha b'derech asher bartem. I'm going to send you back to Assyria and the same road that you took to get here. V'zelecha ot, and I'm going to give you a sign. Achol hashana safiach, the first year you're going to eat from things that are just found in the field. This uvashana shenit sachish, uvashana shlishit ziru v'kitzru, you'll be able to plant, harvest v'nituk ramim v'chlu priyam. Rashi, I'm going to first explain the way Rashi learns. The Navi is now talking to Chizkiyahu. Now that I'm now telling you that the army of Sancherib is going to fall here, and there's going to be a signal to you. You are going to fear that you're going to die of famine because the legions of Sancherib had spoiled all the land around and had cut down all the trees and all of the seeds. So in the first year, there will be natural growth and you'll be able to be fed by that. The second year, there will be buds from the trees. And in the third year, you're going to be able to seed and harvest. And when you see that all the soldiers have been killed and you have this food, you're going to know that the haftacha is going to be makuyim and not a famine. Why did they wait until the third year to plant? The first year they didn't have. First year they didn't have what to plant. And whatever was growing naturally, they ate. Now the second year they had seeds, but it was a Shemitah year. So they weren't allowed to plant. So they could only plant in the third. Okay. V'yasfa pleitat bet Yuda nishara shoresh lamata. There will be a remnant of the Beis Yehuda. There will be a root below the asafri lamala. The Assyrians had killed many of the Judeans around Jerusalem. They may have taken others captive and exiled to Assyria. Ritzin Melech Aram had already taken Judeans captive. However, the Shoresh Lamata, meaning they're going to be filled with good, like a tree planted in a moist place. And those that survive will give fruit and be very successful. And this is talking about the Jews forever, because who are the remnant Judeans? It's us. From Jerusalem is going to be the remnant. Not only is Sancherib not going to destroy Yerushalayim, everyone that remains from this battle with Ashur is going to remain. And Yerushalayim will remain the central place of Malchus Hashem. And all the Mekaimei HaTorah and the Tzaddikim are going to come out of Yerushalayim. V'kach hava. Lamed Beis, Lachein Komar Hashem el Melech Ashur. So says Hashem to Melech Ashur, Lo yavo la'ir hazot. You will not come to this city. V'lo yoreh sham chetz. You will not send an arrow there. V'lo yikadmen ha'mageh, no shield, v'lo yishpoch aleh solullah. No blood will be spilled. Baderech asher yavo bayashuv. You will return to Assyria by the way you came. V'la'ir hazot lo yavonu Hashem. V'ganoti el ha'ir hazot lo shia. I will. The word ganoti is from tzva hagana Yisrael. Hagana, I will protect this city and I will save it. Lemani uleman David avdi. Remember, Hashem made a bris with David that if his sons kept the mitzvahs, Malchus would not leave his family. Doesn't say because of Zchus Chizkiyahu. His chus was not enough. Maybe the people, since they hadn't all done tshuva, like Bernie said, some didn't want to, participate in all this. The schus of Chizkiyahu is not enough. It had to be the schus with David. Chazal say that Chizkiyahu had enough schus to save the city. But there's a different reason why it's written like this. Says Brachas Yud Amid Beis. Aber Rabbi Yochanan, Mishum Rabbi Yossi ben Zimmer, Kol HaToila b'schus atzmo. If someone says in his tefillah that whatever I'm asking for, it's because of my schus, because Chizkiah had said, "Schor na et asher yitzalachti lefanecha." Toilen lo b'schus acherim. Then you don't get the credit for the hatzalah. Somebody else gets it. Kol hatola b'schus acherim. Whoever says that the schus belongs to somebody else, toilen lo b'schus atzmo. Moshe told b'schus shenemar. Moshe said, "Schor l'Avraham li'Yitzchak li'Yisrael v'adecha." When Moshe davened Vayichal Moshe by the Egel Azov. He said, remember Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He didn't say himself. Tolo b'schus atzmo, shenemar, in Tehillim, Vayomer lashmideim lule Moshe bechiro amad beperetz lefanav. Hashem wanted to destroy except for Moshe. So Moshe gets the credit because he asked for the schus, not him, other people. Chizkiah told us b'schus atzmo. Tichsiv zchor nas asher salachti lefanecha, tolu lo b'schus acherim. Shenemar, v'ganosi la'ir azos lo shia l'mani l'man David avdi. Let's finish with this last pasuk. Vahi balayla hu, vayetze malach Hashem, vayach b'machane Ashur 185,000 were killed that night. Vayashkimu baboker v'nei chulam karim mesim. Only corpses were found in the machane Ashur. And there's many stories that we will discuss further and further about this pasuk when we pick up next week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Any questions, comments, ha'aros?
So we're going to learn on Hanukkah. That's the question.
Yeah, why not?